Welcome back to another edition of the Balas and Skene Show here at the Wolverine.com. I'm Chris Balas. With me, five-time Big Ten champion Doug Skene, all Big Ten. Played for Bill Parcells at New England. The guy knows a little something about football, so we're pleased, and as much as it pains me, excited to have you here, Skene, and with all the ass kickings you've given me on the golf course. So, but hey, we're here to talk about
this.
This
is yeah. See,
you still got the clubs out? You still been hitting them?
No, this is just one of my spare clubs. I've been sitting here. I did this to maybe throw you off and rattle you a little bit.
You just did. So now I'm having flashbacks and PTSD from our last trip. So let's talk about Michigan, Wisconsin. Okay. And this is a lot of good. And I don't want to sit there and minimize what they've accomplished here. They are 4-1. They are 2-0 in the Big Ten with a big win at Nebraska. Nebraska's not great. I think we've seen that. I think they had 54 yards in the first half against Michigan State, which is crazy to me. But they came on in the second half. Michigan State's warts were exposed. Wisconsin, big up front. I was watching the first quarter last night, Skene. I'm going to watch the rest of the game today. And they are big up front. They're a better test than Central Michigan or Nebraska for this Michigan offensive line. Their edges were better than what Michigan had seen in the last couple of weeks, certainly not to the level of Oklahoma. So this was kind of a test where you wanted to see, okay, are these guys going to be able to hold up against a bigger and stronger line? I said if they got to, I predicted 150 to 175 yards rushing, and I said that would be pretty good. They got to 175. Again, another big play. Give them credit there. I thought pass protection was poor for part of it, at least on the edges. And the interior, I thought it was pretty good. What did you see overall from the offensive line in this game?
Well, I think from what I've read, from what you've written, Balas, and obviously Jansen, who has a close eyeball on this, obviously I read and listen to a lot of what John talks about. And I would agree that the overall performance was, let's just call it good.
Fine. Yeah.
Good. Nowhere above good. I wouldn't say really good. I wouldn't say anything like that. I told you when we were texting, I said, this is, in my opinion, this is the second worst performance of the offensive line since Oklahoma. And that does take into consideration, the 175 yards rushing, some nice plays on the ground. So overall, good. But if the standard is to win this conference, to get into the playoff and challenge for a national championship, then you look at it a little bit differently. I look at it differently, and I say, okay, good, but nowhere near good enough. And so offensively, there was definitely some bright spots. Obviously, some wide receivers that stood out, and we desperately needed that position group to do so. Offensive line-wise, really good in some spots. I'd say really good in some spots, but overall, not where it's going to need to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And right tackle was a concern. And that one kind of really threw me a little bit because this is the guy that they were saying, okay, he's just going to keep ascending to the point where we're not going to have to worry about our right tackle spot for 3 years. And with Sprague, I really expected more in terms of, and it seemed to me like there were times where he was just doing the wrong thing. And you're going to have to explain this to me. I thought he got beat one-on-one a few times. There were some one-on-ones where he just got obliterated. But it also looked at times like maybe he didn't know where he was going. What did you overall see from our right tackle? He graded out at 40% in pass pro. By the way, we're just getting the bad stuff out of the way early, guys. Okay. So we're not saying that this was not a good win. Any win in the Big Ten is a good win. We got a lot of people saying you guys are you haters, blah, 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 blah. No, we're going to talk about the good, talk about the bad. So, but 40% in pass pro, Skene, and then I think like a 50 overall. And I don't know who's grading these guys, but overall they saw what I saw.
I don't know. And the grades, for context, for all the haters out there, and I just give you a little bit of flashback. Again, it's been 3 decades, Balas, but when you go into the film breakdown as an offense, an offensive line after a win, there's a positive vibe in the room. And I think, you and I, hey, we won the game. This is good. But when you get into that film breakdown with your position coach and you start looking at things, there's definitely some negatives on your grid sheet, your performance sheet, your grade out sheet that are not good. And in those moments, that's what we're talking about here. So Sprague there at right tackle is just the couple times where he got beat on an inside move by that defensive end. There's a couple things that stood out. First of all, I'm wondering why he wasn't expecting an inside move. And maybe he was, because he did take a couple short steps, but his hands and his body posture to engage that defensive end, number 22 from Wisconsin, his hands were just down by his waist, right? So when I tell you in a text message during the game that his hands, he doesn't have violent hands, as an offensive lineman, and you've got guys that are slanting or sparking either direction, right or left, whatever you want to call it. Your answer is to take short, powerful steps and get your hands on the guy as fast as possible. In order to do that, you got to have a proper body balance and body posture. And on the two most egregious plays where Sprague just whiffed, he had his helmet, his face mask was way out over his toes, his waist was bent, and his hands were down by his waist. And when he did bring his hands up, that defensive end just swatted him down and made the move, and he was on the ground. It looked like something that looked like me my freshman year at Michigan, when you're just learning how to block dudes that are your same size and are athletic. So we just thought, right, you and me and everybody else thought, well, Sprague's past that kind of thing. We shouldn't see that kind of thing. So in these few moments and overall in this game, he regressed a little bit. And so do I have any doubts he can fix that? Absolutely not. This guy can do really well, and he's going to do really well. But in this game, a couple things stood out. The technique was one of them. I'm going to show you something else, Balas.
Yeah.
So when I say pre-snap, specifically the right tackle, I got my little board here. See this?
Yep.
Okay. This is Sprague right here. Okay. There was a snap. It was, I think it was the third quarter. No, I'm sorry. It was the third. Yeah, it was the third quarter. It doesn't matter when. But let me take this guy out of here. This was our formation on the right side of the offensive line. This was a defensive end. We had nobody out here. There was no wide receiver. There was no tight end. There was nobody. And this dude right here wasn't a backer. He was number 5. And he was standing right out here. Okay? So if you know the ball, if you know the play is going to come this way, it doesn't matter. If you're the right tackle and pre-snap, you look out here and you know you have nobody out here. This guy is standing at or around the line of scrimmage. That tells me, hey, this guy, based on our formation, would have contained or could have contained the edge of the front. That gives this defensive end a free shot to do this. And if you're not thinking about that possibility before snap, right, you come to the line as an offensive tackle, you say, okay, I've got an outside shoulder, an outside edge defensive guy here, a 5, 6, or 7 technique, whatever you guys want to call them. He's outside my right shoulder. I need to know what my offensive formation is. Oh, I have no slot, no wide receivers, no tight ends, nothing out here. Who's beyond this defensive end? Oh, there's number 5 standing there. Well, okay, you should have an alert going on in your head that now the defensive end in front of me, number 22 in this game, he might move inside of me. And on 2 different plays, that happened. And we acted like we'd never seen it before. Now, one of them, it was the third quarter play. I think it was 1st and 10. It looked like a terrible play out of Sprague, and it was, because that was the second one where he was on the ground. But it was zone right. It was a zone right play, Balas, which means that this right tackle or right guard here, Guinera, he's supposed to come over here and put eyeballs on here before he starts looking for this linebacker. And if you go back and you watch the film, you're going to see Sprague here moves left, falls on his face because of bad technique. This defensive end number 22 comes right inside here. And Sprague, but Guinera, when he takes his zone step, his eyeballs are not looking right here. You can see because of the stripes on the Michigan helmet. That's always a great thing about watching film. He's looking in here right away. And he never even has time to adjust to this because he's not looking properly where he's supposed to be looking. And you can see, because this dude goes in here and tackles Haynes for a tackle for loss in the backfield. And Guinera loops around here with the oh shit body language, like, oh crap.
Well, which is it? Oh shit or oh crap?
It's both. It's
okay.
Both. Trust me, having been there before and done it myself, it's one of those crap moments. And so it's a missed assignment along with bad technique. It looks really bad, right? So, in the big picture of things, this is not difficult to fix. So you go back to the old practice stuff, and if I'm right guard, if I'm right tackle, you got to have a pre-snap thought. based on what you see in front of you here, what could happen? What do I need to be prepared for? And that solidifies your footwork and where your eyeballs need to go in your first move out of your stance.
And the one thing I will say is that you've got Guarnera, who's I think in his third start. You've
Yeah.
got Andrew Sprague, just started his first game last year against Alabama, so he's only in his fifth or sixth start. So these are things, like you said, that are going to be corrected.
Yep.
These are young guys that are only going to get better. Physically, they look the part. I like Guarnera. I think Guarnera might be close to Michigan's best lineman already, at least from the guys that we've seen on the field in the last few weeks, in terms of doing the right thing, being where he's supposed to be, and the physicality that he plays with. He looks like he wants to do, as you always say, the belt buckle rub in the face, right? And let guys, he's there. And supposedly Sprague has that nasty streak too. So, and I think Greg Crippen's playing better football at center. I think that he's really come on strong. The Nebraska game was really kind of his coming out party. And granted, again, with the caveat that that's not the best line that he's going to face all year, but I liked the confidence that he's playing with. He seems to be less mechanical now. He's looking right to that second level. He knows what he's supposed to do, knows where he's supposed to be. So on the left side, we're going to be getting Giovanni El-Hadi back on Saturday against USC. I think Nathan Afobe is kind of hit and miss at left guard. You think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah. And again, hit and miss is one way of putting it. Streaky is another word that I know I like to use. I've heard Jansen talk about inconsistent, right? And that's the problem with a developing offensive line. These are some of the things. It's like, ooh, that looked really good. We just ripped off a massive run for a touchdown or short yardage and goal line. There's a lot of positive things, but then when things go bad, it's like, yikes, we clearly have a ways to go. So yeah, that's the case. I think Afobe at left guard there again. There was one particular play, and I'll show you what happened here. There are two things on that play that drove me nuts as I was sitting here watching that one. That was the 3rd and 1 that got reviewed, the replay review that got called short. Pre-snap on that stuff, Balas. Let's just talk about it. So shall we talk about it?
Yes.
All right. So pay no attention to what happened over here. This was the pre-snap look. We went unbalanced. This right here, over on the left side of our offensive line, was Sprague right here. And we went zone left. These guys are all blocking zone left. But pre-snap here, Balas, this is young Marsh right here, our freshman wide receiver. He had a defensive end lined up to his inside eye. I didn't look in the rosters to know what the weight balance difference is between these dudes, but this is a Big Ten defensive end right here against a freshman wide receiver. And we are all zone stepping this way. Do you see a mismatch problem here, Balas?
A little, yeah.
So my question is, why don't we call timeout? Why doesn't someone up top go, ooh, wait a minute, red flag, mismatch, we got to call timeout. We cannot expect this right here to happen. So what does happen on this play? Of course, this dude lights up our young freshman back here, knocks him back, crashes down, and makes a play right here. So that's disappointing mismatch. We should have adjusted to that.
Yeah.
Secondly, right here at the left guard position, you have Afobe's right here, right? So it's zone, right? Zone blocking. You block whatever shows up in your zone. This is Afobe's zone right in here. Okay, that's his space. Pre-snap, there is no threat. There's no one I need to go for right here, right away. But I have this wide 3 technique who's on my outside shoulder, outside hip in here. And now I'm going to expect my unbalanced tackle to come over here. Sprague, who usually plays right tackle, now he's playing left. I don't need to vacate right away. So he comes in this way. Sprague has a tough time knocking him off. Now we have 2 guys in our backfield crashing this down because the angles are bad, Balas. You have a physical mismatch here, and this angle is bad. So what should Afobe have done? Afobe, instead of going left foot first here, right foot first. I got backwards here on my screen. He should have fired upfield with this opposite foot to get a chip of this dude to let Sprague get down and get body in front of him, and then he can get back to his zone assignment because there was no linebacker walked up. There was no nose tackle who's lined up over the nose that can threaten this gap. You had no immediate threat. Help your tackle. Give him a little bit of a hip shot before you take off. And before all this, call timeout. That's just dumb football. So anyway, these are the kinds of things that if we want Michigan, if in of course we want Michigan to do well, but the offensive coaching staff and their players, they have to figure out a way to get out of those bad looks and either call timeout, change the thing at the line. It's frustrating for me to watch. And again, I understand we have a freshman quarterback, but there's no reason we can't go to the line of scrimmage with 2, 4, or 6 or more plays and teach these guys to see this stuff and either make at the line blocking assignment calls and swaps out. You can do a gap and fold thing up there as an offensive line with zone blocking. If you have bad angles, you can switch assignments with a guard center or a tackle and guard. We call that a gap and fold call, and you let your lineman make that call. Or the quarterback, ultimately the quarterback needs to be taught. When you look over at the left here, and you see our young freshman wide receiver lined up against a Big Ten defensive end, he's got to call and just do this.
Yeah.
If he's not allowed to get out of it, if he's not allowed to, or doesn't have the ability at the line of scrimmage to do a check with me, get out of that stuff. So that's the kind of thing that I watch and I go, man, this is not championship caliber stuff. We're going to play against better defenses, and we're going to have to be better than this.
Yeah, and it's going to be even tough at USC, and everybody says, well, everybody's moving the ball on them, this and that. It is a different animal to go out into somebody's backyard on the West Coast and win, as we've seen with Michigan over the years. The last time they did it, you were actually on the team, and it was 1989. Did you make that trip out there? You must have. Yeah, so J.D. Carlson with the last-second field goal. Veda Murray, God bless him, the late Veda Murray, made a recovery on an onside kick, and you guys eke one out against a team that actually, a USC team that I think finished 3-7 and won that year.
UCLA.
UCLA. I'm sorry. So, so it's tough. There's no question about it. There's going to be some speed out there that they're going to see. And what is the toughest part, Skene? And we'll come back to the Wisconsin game in a second, but since we're on it, what is the toughest part about going out there? And why do you think it's so hard traveling across time zones to win on the West Coast?
Well, for us, I can tell you that for us, it was the weather. And what I mean by that is the heat. So this time of year, I know it's October, and here in Michigan right now, it's been hot, which I think will play well for Michigan to move out west because it's just hot. So when we went out there for all those Rose Bowls, and when we went out there even for that UCLA game, it was cool. We were into the fall mode here in Michigan, right? You got to wearing a jacket going up to class, and it's kind of cooling off here, and your body is adjusting to the fall temperatures. And you get on an airplane, you fly 4.5, 5 hours, and you land, and all of a sudden it's 89 degrees, and it's like, whoa, this is a tough adjustment. It's hard to describe. That the length of the flight shouldn't matter, right? It just shouldn't. But it's 4.5 hours. I don't think that matters. But the time zone change can matter a little bit. The rest of it is just it's a further extension. If you get on an airplane, you fly up to Wisconsin, you fly up to Minnesota, you fly over to Penn State, and you play, and you just double your travel length. I just think the weather and the time itself, the time change and the zones have something to do with it. And then, oh, by the way, I think you factor in some of the more regular situations that go into college football. Like Penn State, this last weekend goes out there and they're playing down to an opponent and they get their ass beat. So I don't think that's going to happen here with Michigan. I think they understand we're going out here to play a talented USC roster in their own stadium where it's going to be hot and noisy, and everybody in town is fired up for this game. So it's going to be a big challenge.
It is, and half the crowd is going to be Michigan fans probably, though. That is going to be fun. Hopefully they show up, and I think they will. Every time I go out to California, whether it's an NCAA tournament game, whether it's the Rose Bowl, Michigan is so well represented because there are a ton of Wolverines in California, and they can't wait to see their team play, and they show up in droves. So I know a ton of people that are going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it sure does feel weird to have it a Big Ten game. Michigan and USC in a Big Ten tilt. If you'd have told me that 35 years ago, I'd have said, get off my lawn. I'm not doing this. I don't want any part of this. I'm not covering this shit, but
it's always weird along those lines, right? It's just watching Penn State at UCLA that felt like, gosh, it could have been that could have been a doggone Rose Bowl, and it's in the Rose Bowl. So yeah, it's always a little weird. I guess us old timers, Balas, are adjusting to this newfangled Big Ten.
Are we? Are we though? Really? I hate it. So, somebody asked me how many teams there are going to be in the Big Ten in 2030, and I said, "Shit, it could be 24. You could have a couple super conferences, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, how can you think that?" And I'm like, I don't have a clue, but does it really matter?
It's real easy to how can you think that?
Yeah, it's a money grab, 100%.
Right.
Yep. So, but hey,
television drives this sport. I know we're off topic now, but television drives this sport. If they think they can double their billions of dollars in revenue by making a super conference, Big Ten and SEC, and then it's like the AFL or the NFL and NFC and AFC, right? And don't think for a second that they won't do it. So,
yeah,
the West Coast it is what it is. Like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went up to Seattle yesterday and won a football game. So it can be done. It just takes the right attitude, the right talent, the right execution. And Michigan is going to have its hands full doing that this coming weekend.
And they're not going to be going to the beach or anything. I do think they're going out there Thursday, which is good. They can adjust the time a little bit more. The interesting one is going to be coming back for that Washington game the following week. When you go to the coast, I would imagine, and you're coming back and you're readjusting to the time change, it kind of throws you off a little bit.
The worst part is the trip back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can remember you mentioned the UCLA game
in
1989, and it's the same for any team that goes out west. So, what time's kickoff this weekend, Balas?
It'll be 7:30 p.m. Eastern, so 4:30 out there.
Okay, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So the game's going to take 4 hours. By the time you leave the Coliseum to head back to the airport, it's going to be what, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, right?
At least, yeah.
Local time.
Yep.
You're going to get on an airplane, and you're going to fly back to Detroit Metro or Willow Run or wherever they fly into. And that's going to be 4.5, 5 hours. They'll be on the team bus pulling back into Schembechler Hall around 7 o'clock in the morning locally. So when we're getting up to go to church or have breakfast on a Sunday morning, these dudes will just be hidden head to pillow. And that can throw you off for the following week. Now, it certainly would throw me off now as a mid-50s-year-old dude. But when you're 21, 22, 23, you can snap back pretty fast.
Uh-huh.
But it's still, it takes a toll on you, right? Because of that massive change. And some guys just can't sleep on an airplane like me. And some dudes don't want to sleep on an airplane. And it just throws off your whole rhythm of things because of that distance.
Yeah, no question. So it'll be interesting to see how they adjust. And again, with Washington, a solid opponent. Nice comeback for them, by the way, from 20-0 down to pull out a 24-20 win at Maryland. But that just goes to show you, too, as we talked about Penn State going out to UCLA. Penn State had a tough one at USC last year where they had to pull one out late. They got a couple of breaks and won that game. They get beat by the worst team in the Big Ten that had not led in a game all year. And I think they said the time led, there was a stat, the time led in games in leading up to that game, Penn State, like 160 minutes, and it was 0 for UCLA. And then they led that entire game. So once they got the lead, so unbelievable. It is going to be a little bit tricky. Let's go back though and talk a little bit more about Wisconsin here before we wrap that up. I wanted to talk about the receivers. To me, that was the most encouraging thing. And I understand that the Wisconsin, and I wrote this, I understand that the Wisconsin defensive backs in the secondary was the weakest part of that team. At the same time, what encouraged me was you had two guys now. It wasn't just McCauley. It was Donovan McCauley. And it was Andrew Marsh, the freshman who you mentioned earlier, who were making tough contested catches. And there wasn't a ton of separation on those, a couple of those sideline throws. And as Luke Fickell, Wisconsin's coach, said, we had good coverage on a couple of those. You had great plays made by a couple of great athletes. And to me, that was a positive sign here. They still had drop passes, Max Bredesen, Samaj Morgan. But those two guys right there, it seems to me, you've got something to build on there now.
There's no question something to build on. Now we're all looking just for the consistency to do it again and again and again. And the challenge gets bigger as the season goes on, not just for these young wide receivers, but for the whole offense and defense. The more you're on film, the more your opponent can scout you, look at your tendencies, etc. So in the next following week, I guarantee you USC is looking at these two guys now going, okay, we have to adjust for them. How can we play them better? So there's not a ton of film on these guys to break down. So that's a little bit of a tactical advantage for us with these young guys. But the word that comes to my mind is just refreshing. watching these guys go up and make these plays and get their feet down in bounds and just do business like too, Balas, just out there, just catching the football, getting back to the huddle and doing it again. I love watching that stuff. And so it's really encouraging from a position group that really needs to come on to balance and give this offense more options, give our young quarterback more confidence to throw it down there at them, near them, to them, etc. And so you can't come fast enough for the development of these guys out on the edge. And if this is the future, and it's going to be these younger guys that are taking over from other guys that are dropping the football more often than they should, so be it. That's the way it works. Yep. At that level of football, you perform or you step aside. The next person will. And so, let's go.
Speaking of young guys, Bryce Underwood, the fact that he's not turning the ball over and he put one on the ground, but where he's throwing it, I pegged him for 9 interceptions or something this year. I said, there'll be some growing pains. His ability to really not throw into traffic and to make the right play has really been the most impressive part. This is a guy who's going to be the number 1 overall pick someday, in my opinion. But what he's done in terms of protecting the ball has made this team even better.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So that means he's being coached well. He's taking the coaching well. Don't throw it up for grabs. Don't get greedy. Don't force it. That's how you throw interceptions as a young, inexperienced player at a new level of football. The most impressive throw in that game, Balas, in my opinion, was the waggle right or the bootleg right. Everybody's zone block left. He comes out to his right, surveys his options, and floats it over the mid defender, just over the top of his fingertips, drops it in there for 20 yards.
Beautiful.
Whatever that was. That I sat on the chair on that one. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that we haven't seen in a while from a quarterback in Ann Arbor that can do that kind of thing. So the sky's the limit for this young man, but it goes back to that offensive line developing faster than Underwood. The wide receivers developing faster so that Underwood has more confidence and more abilities, more space to do all the things that we want him to grow into and continue to get better and better. But yeah, I mean, we know what the commodity is there. The guy's unbelievable. We just got to give him the space and the help to let him grow as fast as he can.
Yep, and he's kind of covering some warts on the offensive line with the way he moves. We talk about sacks. I think they were sacked once. Could have been a few more if he hadn't had some escapability. So
I had 1 sack in there. It was in the first half. Here's the part that when we talk about helping our young quarterback, the way I watch a football game, I had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pressures.
Yeah.
And I had 8 times where he was touched, hit, impacted, knocked down, somebody's falling on his legs.
What's the line, Skene?
No one touches the quarterback ever.
Yes.
No one touches him ever, under any circumstances.
Yeah.
He's got to sit back in there and throw the football and watch it go down and get caught, and no one touches him.
Somebody needs to make a GIF of you getting closer with that. No one touches the quarterback. And that would be fantastic. A meme that I could make out of that. So last thing, Sharon Moore said after the game, he was talking about that first drive by the defense that they let up. He said, it's just tackling. It didn't look like tackling to me. It looked like they were getting pushed off the ball a little bit, and it looked like they lost contain on the edges. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, and I tackling may have been a play or two, but the bottom line is we just got blocked.
Yeah.
Wisconsin just came out, looked like Wisconsin, and blocked us and went down the field and scored. That's as simple as that. And to Michigan and Coach Martindale's credit there, they adjusted. Guys are doing a better job of holding the line of scrimmage, our defensive line, getting off the blocks, getting into the lanes to take away the lanes from the opposing running back, and then tackling better. And then I would say multiple or gang tackling better. We had more than one hat on the football after that. So they played well, but we don't want to let an offense give them life like that, because our defense is better than that. So they just got blocked.
Yeah, and it looked like they were doing a little bit more run blitzing with the linebackers at times, too, to fill those gaps. I'm going to go back and look at it. But he's Doug Skene. Skene, I appreciate your time here early on a Monday morning. We'll get this thing up this afternoon, and we'll see you again next week. I'll be damn good and tired at that point. Those kids might adjust well to the time change. This guy is –
Balas, you're not a 23-year-old kid anymore.
I am no spring chicken. That is for sure. So, Skene, I appreciate your time. Go sell some doorbells and doorknobs and stuff, and have a great day.
All right, go Blue.
Appreciate it.